Hi, welcome to this special version of the Franchise Success Formulas podcast. My name is Aisha Bascaro, and today is going to be a very special and different session because we are going to be having a conversation with the American Franchise Academy's content marketing manager, Miss Ilse Maubert, who just happened to participate in the International Franchise Fair in Mexico City. And so we wanted to bring her experience and what she learned from that event to all of our audience. I know that it's a little different, but I think it's always good to know what's happening in other parts of the world, or things that we can learn and things that we can expand. And who knows, maybe one of you will be interested in one of the brands that are, Mexican born, and go from there in your multi-unit journey. So with that, hey, welcome, Ilse. How are you doing today?
Hi everyone, how are you? Hi Aisha, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here and share this podcast with you and your audience.
Thank you. Our audience, since you're part of
Oh,
the
our audience.
IFA team for sure. So, no,
Yes.
thank you for agreeing to share your experience in the franchise fair in Mexico. As you know, the last time that I was there was actually right before the COVID happened. That happened in 2020, March.
Yeah.
I went to the fair, and like I've been in the past, and it was great experience. We had a lot of fun, old friends, and literally left. I think it was in the middle of March, came home, and just a week or two later, the world closed. And sadly, I have not been back to Mexico and the fair since. So it's been 5 years. I'm gonna have to go back one of these days and say hello to our friends. But since I cannot be there, I wanted to invite you to our podcast so that you can share what you saw, what you've seen, what's new, what's happening, and your experience, since you actually have been a very strong member of the franchising world in Mexico. So can you share a little bit about your background and what is your ties to the franchising world in Mexico, so that the people that are listening to this podcast can know a little bit more about you and what you know? So go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my background, I used to be from 2008 to 2018. I was editor at Entrepreneur Magazine here in Mexico. Sadly, there's no longer an entrepreneur issue here. It's now called different, but I used to be that editor, that franchise editor. So I have experienced this industry and this sector very passionately for 10 years. And one of the event that we had to be there was the International Franchise Fair. So throughout the years, I saw the fair becoming bigger and bigger and bigger with many brands, consolidated brands and emerging brands that now are consolidated brands. So yeah, it was great to be back there and to reconnect and see old friends and meet other ones, and to tighten that bond that I have with the franchise sector here in Mexico. It was great. So thank you so much for the opportunity of being able to go back there now with the AFA t-shirt on.
Yes, yes. And exactly when did that fair take place? I think it was last Friday.
Yeah, well, it happens every year. It happens 3 days a year. So it happened Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it's always in March.
Oh,
So
it's
yeah,
always.
in 2020, it happened like a week or two before everything shut down because of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, wonderful. So, I mean, you had all kinds of experience. Like you said, you reconnected with old friends, and you had a chance to experience the fair, walk around and see lots of booths, and see some of the presentations. And I
Yeah.
understand that you happened to meet the new president of the Mexican Franchise Association. So tell us a little bit about the new president.
Yeah, just last week, Mexican Franchise Association changed like administrations. So now there's a new president with all kinds of activities and things that she wants to accomplish. And yes, I said she because it is a female. It is actually the first female president of the Mexican Franchise Association. And it happened to be an old friend of mine from those entrepreneur days. Her name is Betsy Eslava, and she's a franchisor with her husband because it is a joint franchise. Well, it is a franchise that was born, as their own need as parents to have like a ballet school for her two girls.
So it's a husband and wife partnership that
Yeah,
are the franchisors for this brand. Great. And
yes.
how long has the brand been around?
Her daughter is like 22 years old. She actually was in the booth now, working in the booth, attending clients and stuff. And when I met both of them, Mario and Betsy, her girl was like 5 years old. So, I mean, it's been a long time, a long friendship. And I was very glad to know that Betsy is now the president because if she gives 10% of what she gives to her franchise to the whole association, then this will be an excellent administration.
I love to hear that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic that an actual franchisor is heading the Mexican Franchise Association. Someone has been around for a while, has
Yeah.
experience, the brand, and is now a consolidated brand with many years of experience and now heading it. So I understand that she sent us a message. So let's go ahead and listen to
Yeah.
that message.
Okay, great.
Un saludo desde la Ciudad
Hi,
de
greetings from
México,
Mexico
desde la
City
Feria
at the
Internacional
International
de
Franchise
Franquicias. Hoy
Fair.
es un gran
So today
día
is a
porque
big
es un
day
punto de
because this is
encuentro
an important meeting
importantísimo
point for
para las
brands and
marcas y
investors
para
who
los
trust us.
inversionistas que
We
confían
are
en
here today
nosotros.
to
Les
create great
mandamos un saludo.
connections, sending you all a warm
Nos
greeting.
encantaría
We'd love to learn more
conocer
about
más
the
acerca de
US,
Estados
which
Unidos, de
brands
qué
are looking to
marcas
enter
quieren
our
venir
local
a nuestro
market, and
mercado
which of our
local
brands
y
want to
también
explore
marcas que
opportunities in the
quieren ir a
US.
conocer más de
The
Estados Unidos.
franchise
Nuestra
industry is
industria del sector
huge.
franquicias es una industria grande.
In the Mexican
Somos más de
Franchise
1,300
Association,
marcas.
we have over
En la Asociación
1,300
Mexicana de
brands
Franquicias
with
somos
300 officially
300 marcas
affiliated with the
afiliadas
franchise
al sector
sector.
franquicias.
We
Generamos
generate
más de
more
un
than 1
millón de
million
empleos.
jobs,
Tenemos
operate
más
over
de
95,000
95,000
points of
puntos de
sale,
venta
and
y
contribute
generamos
5%
el
of the national
5% del PIB
GDP.
a nivel nacional.
Our
Tenemos de
franchises
todos
cover
los
all
giros de
industries,
franquicias,
from
desde el sector
restaurants to education,
restaurantero, tenemos
beauty,
el giro de
health, and many
educación,
more.
el giro
We
de
operate in more
salud y
than 12
belleza,
different
más de
industries
12
here in
giros que
Mexico.
manejamos aquí en
It
México.
would be a
Va a
great
ser un
honor and
gran
pleasure
honor,
to
un gran
strengthen our
placer
connection
que
with the
podamos
U.S.
tener comunicación
Sending
con
a special
Estados
greeting
Unidos.
to Aisha
Un
in
saludo
Atlanta.
a Aisha
It's
allá en
great to connect with
Atlanta.
you.
Me da mucho gusto
Hopefully, we can meet
saludarte y
soon to
ojalá
plan
pronto nos
exciting
podamos
collaborations
reunir para
between
hacer
Mexico
planes
and the
conjuntos
U.S.
con México y con Estados Unidos.
Well, that is super nice. That is great. Thank you for capturing the message from her. So, a message from us to you up in Mexico. Thank you for sharing that information and whatever way we can here to support you in what you're doing and your efforts. Please reach out. The American Franchise Academy will be a partner for you also. We are excited about hearing about your new leadership and being able to bring, the association to a whole new level. So with that being said, so what else did you experience while you were there? I know there were newer brands, older brands. So tell us a little bit about the brands and what you saw while you were walking around in the floor of the latest international show in Mexico.
As Betsy mentioned, this is a very broad sector. In the exhibition floor, there were around 200 brands exhibiting, but the industry is much wider. There are around 1,300 brands. And they can be like very, very consolidated with hundreds of units or very new ones. And the exhibition floor showed that diversity. For example, we have Wings Army here in Mexico, which is one of the largest franchise in the restaurant sector. They are actually in 29 states of the country, and they even have like a unit in Guatemala, one in Panama, and they are opening this year in Paris. And I have a message from them to us. So why don't we let them tell us more about their brand? So
Pues un gusto saludarte, ¿cómo estás? Aquí Wings
Hi,
Army,
we are Wings Army. Our main reason for being here at the
básicamente la
Mexican
intención de estar aquí en
Franchise
la
Association
por los
Expo
descubrimientos
is to
que tenemos en
showcase the
México
growth we are
mercado,
experiencing
y
in
una de las
Mexico.
estrategias nuevas
One of
que
our
traemos
newest
es
strategies is
internacional.
international
Ya
expansion.
estamos
We are
teniendo
already
unidades
opening
tanto
units in
en
California,
California,
and soon we will be entering Europe,
próximamente estamos entrando ya
opening
también
units
en
in France,
Europa, viendo lo que es
Amsterdam, and
Japón,
Madrid.
Francia,
We are
Ámsterdam,
highly
Madrid.
focused on growth,
Entonces, pues
celebrating
muy
20
enfocados
years
en
in the
crecimiento
market
por
and
muchos años
continuously
hemos tenido,
striving to provide
ya
the best
cumpliendo 20 años
opportunities
en
for
el
everyone.
mercado.
We're very
Todos
happy to be here.
buscando los
If
mejores
you need
beneficios para
anything,
todos,
we're
¿no?
here for you
Un
at the
gusto
Expo.
saludarlos, estamos a sus órdenes aquí en esta expo.
All right, well, that's so nice. Yeah, I love having messages from Mexico and the brand Wings Army. It's a brand that I'm very familiar with. Obviously with Martin and Alberto's, the two brothers leading the brand. Obviously, Martin being the innovator and creator, and Alberto, the person behind him, managing operations and expansion. I'm familiar with them. It's great to hear about them, and it's great to hear that they're doing so well with their franchise. Yeah, I found out that they were opening in Guatemala. Martin gave me a call. Like some of you might on the audience may not know that I'm originally from Guatemala. So he called me and discussed his opening in Guatemala. So I was very excited for him and his brand of Wings Army Mexico. That's fantastic. So with that, so what other people did you had a conversation with that kind of gives a little display of what is available and what is happening in Mexico in the franchise world?
Well, I noticed that there were a lot of personal care brands dedicated to beauty, for example. And I happened to have a chat with one of them. She is actually a very, very young franchisor, and she's very excited about being in the industry, but also about having her brand being able to give to others, and to make this business like a family business and an opportunity for her franchisees. So I really liked the way that she was engaging with all of the attendees that happened to be there, looking for business, looking for their next opportunity, or looking for a place to put their investments or their savings, because this is the way that Mexicans relate. And we go to this type of events searching for the new opportunity to make it big, to leave the work behind and put your passion into something that you can grow by yourself.
Pursuing the dream of business ownership, right?
Yes, totally. By the way, I saw a lot of families, like husband and wife, and even with their kids there. So as I was seeing these parents with their children there, I was like, yeah, franchising can be your life plan, and you can put all of your hopes and dreams into it, and then hopefully you'll be able to be successful. By the way, Betsy,
It is definitely a family, it is definitely a
ah,
family, it's a family world because, especially when you start as a franchisee, you are all in, you're working extra hours, but you're putting in the effort at the beginning so that you and your family can have, that freedom, that financial freedom and time freedom, and eventually a legacy if you actually go into a multi-unit enterprise, right? So, but it does, you have to have a strong family support system for you to be able to be successful in the world, in the industry of franchising, for sure. So, do we have a message from her? Like, what is the name of her brand?
her brand is called Rosa Tenue, and it's a small like eyelashes and spa. She also does nails. So it is a place where women go to pamper themselves. So yeah, we have a message from her. She mentions something about training her franchisees and training the technicians there, because as women know that we go to these places not only to look pretty, but to feel pretty as well. And part of it is making peace of mind. So the technicians mostly act as our psychologists at times. So that's something that she identified like a service differentiator. And this is something that she focuses on. So let's see what she has to say about it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Hola, mi nombre es Ingrid
Hi,
Muñiz.
my name is
Soy la
Ingrid
fundadora
Muñiz.
de Rosa
I am the
Tenue.
founder
Tengo
of
7
Rosa
años en el
Tenue.
mercado y
We have been in the market for 7 years,
Somos
with our
nuevos en
headquarters in
el mercado
Guanajuato,
de las
Mexico.
franquicias.
We are
Y
new
Rosa
to the
Tenue es un negocio
franchising
con
world,
alma,
and
el cual
Rosa Tenue
intenta
is a business with
empoderar a las
soul,
mujeres y
one
a
that
los
aims to
franquiciatarios
empower
a
women
través
and
de conexiones
franchisees through
reales
real
y
human
humanas
connections. Our
entre
franchise includes
nosotros. Nuestra
strong human
franquicia
resources
incluye
manuals covering leadership,
manuales de
conflict
recursos humanos
resolution,
súper
and
fuertes,
personal empowerment.
incluyen
We
liderazgo,
also
resolución de
offer effective
conflictos,
psychology
y
support to help
empoderamiento
franchisees
personal.
run their
También
businesses
ofrecemos
smoothly and
psicología
with ease.
afectiva
Additionally,
para que
we
sea
provide
muy
training for our
fácil y
technicians and
suavemente la
collaborators,
franquicia pueda
motivating them through effective
llevar el
psychology,
negocio
helping them
y
understand
ser
what they can
suavemente.
do,
También
what they
ofrecemos
shouldn't do, what they can
unas
say, and what
capacitaciones
would be
para
best
nuestras
for them.
técnicas, para
For
nuestras
me, the most
colaboradoras,
rewarding
para
part of this journey
motivarlas,
as a
para
new
mí lo más
franchisor has
satisfactorio
been
en este
carrying
proceso de
forward
nueva
the heart
franquiciante
and
ha sido
soul of
poder
Rosa Tenue,
llevar el
which has
corazón y
given
el alma
so
de
much
Rosa
to so
Tenue, que
many
nos ha
people,
dado tanto
offering
a tantas
financial,
personas
economic, and
desde
time freedom,
libertad
as well as personal
económica,
growth.
financiera
I am incredibly proud and deeply passionate about this project. It is a noble and beautiful initiative that the community truly needs.
Oh wow, that's amazing. She is very young. That's amazing that somebody's so young. She said that the younger of three sisters. That's
Yep.
very fun. I'm the younger of two sisters, and I can
Oh.
relate to that. Given that my sister's working in our in our academy too, so it's awesome when family can then join you in your in your journey and your dream for sure. So that's wonderful to see that. So tell me, what else did you learn about where we are right now in the franchise world in Mexico, and what other things that you heard or learned about, or what is the current state of franchising in Mexico?
Yeah, sure. So this sector here in Mexico generates more than 5% of the GDP and generates more than 1 million jobs in the country. There are around 95,000 units. This is something that is very different from the industry there in the United States. But we also have multi-unit franchisees here in Mexico. And one of them happens to be Gabriela Cejudo. She owns 90 restaurants in 5 different states here in Mexico from 4 different brands. Only one of them is Mexican. The other 3 ones are international brands. So it's Pizza Hut, Burger King, and KFC. She has a lot of experience here in Mexico being multi-unit franchisee. She actually inherited the enterprise from her husband when he passed away, but she has exploded the growth of this group and currently employs around 2,000 people. So it is a very large multi-unit enterprise. It's called Grupo Nixa. And I actually have another message from her. So why don't we look at it?
Oh yeah, no, let's hear it, since that is exactly who our audience is, most of it, right? Multi-unit. So I'd
Yeah.
love to hear from this multi-unit franchisee.
Hello, I'm Gabby Cejudo, multi-unit franchisee. I live in Merida, Mexico, but I operate in 5 states across the country. I'm so glad I connected with Ilse to learn more about this important topic. It's crucial because in order to grow, our district managers need to understand their role as well as our store managers. And of course, we as owners, whether of multiple brands or a single brand, must support them and help provide them with a better quality of life.
Wow, so I love to see how there is, that very strong, multi-unit, multi-brand. We call them Mumbos, by the way, multi-unit, multi-brand franchisee in Mexico, and seeing all that she has accomplished and being able to not only have, but definitely grow and excel with international brands, American brands, and a Mexican brand in Mexico. So definitely thank you for the message, and thank you for sharing that with us in your experience over there. So tell us, what else did you learn, from this experience and being in the franchise show in Mexico, and of the brands, and how about the presentations? There's always breakout sessions, where they are sharing development and training for the people that are attending the sessions. So tell us, how was that? Were they having sessions, and how did they deliver them?
They divided the agenda into 2 different perspectives, one of them being the entrepreneur one. So this is the profile that is going to the fair to, discover this industry. Maybe they are familiar with it, but not as much. So most of the topics were around how to choose your brand and how to make it in the franchise world. But the other side of the agenda was the enterprise one. So this is mainly for franchisors or for people that want to turn their businesses into franchises, into successful franchises, of course. So, and then they have like a mutual conferences or topics. For example, Gabriela spoke in one of these conferences for both of them, for both franchisors and from franchisees. She is a franchisee, of course, but the level of growth that she has had within 20 years allows her to speak, at a different level for franchisors as well. And by the way, she also spoke in her lecture about this relationship with international brands because, as I mentioned, she operates 3 international brands from the USA. So she shared a little bit about how to handle these negotiations and these relationships with brands from abroad. So yeah, it was a very interesting session with her.
Oh, that's a great experience for her to share with people that wouldn't otherwise have exposure to that knowledge, right? And so
Yes.
I remember that I have given some of those lectures or workshops in the franchise show, and you were mentioning something about how they were tackling the noise level because being that it is in the open floor, I remember how you had to really battle with the noise happening everywhere. But you said that there was a use of technology in this conference. So tell us a little bit about how did they use technology to mitigate the noise level when you're trying to make this, this presentation in an open floor?
Yeah, since they were open auditoriums, they had like, yes, they separated, enterprise and entrepreneurs, but they had headsets. I happened to took some pictures from these two different scenarios. One of them are in blue and one of them are red, the headsets. So the speaker, actually, the microphone is connected to the specific colors within the headsets. So, for example, the enterprise one was red and the entrepreneur was blue. So if you wanted to hear the speaker from the enterprise, you had to wear the red headset. And if you wanted to listen to the speaker from the entrepreneur one, you had to wear the blue headset. And if you walk past these auditoriums, these open auditoriums, you cannot hear anything because the speaker is speaking, like in a normal voice level. So if you wanted to participate in these sessions, you have to actually enter these open auditoriums, take a seat, and then put your headset on. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear it. And I think that is a very clever way to tackle these open big venues because they are noisy. And even one of the exhibitors happened to ring a bell every time they closed like a deal. So that prevented you from all the noise around, and it even helped you focus, like be present within this session. The other things don't matter. You are here now, so pay attention to the speaker.
Yeah, I love that because I remember that noise in that floor is really challenging. And when people are trying to
Yeah.
listen to you, even if you have a microphone with speakers, it's still you're battling the noise. And the people really want to learn and pay attention. And sometimes by adding this technology, it helps them experience that workshop or that session better and be able to absorb, more information. So I love that. It's amazing how technology can really solve some of our problems, right? For sure.
Yeah, it was very an applause for the organizers, for thinking about this because it is innovative. It helps people, focus and really listen to what the speakers have to say. And yeah, it is like a new thing going on in the trade show scenarios. So yeah.
So can you tell me something that really surprised you about this, about this particular show? Anything that really make you think, about it? Something that you think that is new and different and innovative of what you saw while you were there in the fair?
There were some specific concepts that I was like, oh, this is interesting. There was a CBD store that happened to be franchising right now. So, I mean, many years ago, you wouldn't be able to have this type of concepts there. So it was like,
Yeah,
interesting.
that's different for sure because, yeah, isn't marijuana against the law in Mexico?
Well, CBD isn't because CBD doesn't have the thing that makes you like.
Okay, so it's the oil that it's okay, so therefore
Yeah.
that's how you can have a business and not interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Another concept that really surprised me was this Korean photo booths. That
What do
is
you mean
something.
Korea's photo booths? Tell me more about that.
They are like how you go to, for example, like a wedding, and there happens to be like a mobile photo booth. So it is installed there, and it's like curtains, and it's this instant photo, but the Korean ones are within a store. They are brick and mortar units. They are not mobile. And they have these props, like diadems and glasses and wigs and boas, feather boas. And so people go there and they pay for their creative sessions, and like groups of friends go in there and take their pictures, and they can be like 24/7 type of businesses because they are there. So you only need someone to pay for their pictures, and then people get dressed up and they have fun taking their pictures, and then that's it, you know?
So something that is true in these franchise shows is that there's all kinds of brands, right? You have a brand new brands. Sometimes, you might have a brand that has not sold one franchise yet, right? And then you have one that's starting. Then there's one that is, emerging. And then you have brands that are mature. And then you have brands like Wings Army that's been around for many years, decades actually. And I think they had the 25th anniversary a couple of years ago. And so as an investor, you really need to consider, and if you are in the US thinking, wow, so there are 1,300 brands in Mexico, many of them are not in the US. So this is something that you might want to explore. So if someone in the US, Ilse, would like to learn more about the brands that are in Mexico, like how would they go about? Is there like a website or a guide or something? Do you know how could people in the US that might be listening to this podcast that may want to explore brands in Mexico, how do you think they should go about doing that?
Well, actually, I would suggest to first go to the Mexican Franchise Association, because they have like around 300 brands that are affiliated to them. And what does this mean? It gives you security. You know, the brands that are there are actually franchises, have processes, have procedures, and they are built to give franchises. So I would go there. But then again, some brands are franchises, have procedures, have policies, everything is in place, and they don't belong to the association. So maybe like baby steps, maybe going first to the association, to the Mexican Association, and then look for ambassadors here in Mexico that can give you this information about these brands. You know, how many years they are in the market, how many units they have. Look for them in their social media, on LinkedIn, look for their websites, and really get to know them as part of an industry, maybe not an association, but yes, part of an industry. Maybe if they are exhibiting in this type of shows, it gives you like a little bit more trust on them. But definitely the association would be a first step. Also, some of the brands that exhibited were part of the IFA, for example.
Yeah, great point on all of that, Ilse. For sure, the Mexican Franchise Association is a great starting point, but like anything, you should always do your due diligence, just like you would in the United States. There are other associations like the FIAF, which is the International Federation of Franchising. They cover most of Latin America and Spain. So any brand within those countries, they will be able to give you information about those. And of course, the IFA, the International Franchise Association, based out of the United States, there's a lot of those brands that are members of that association, so you can also inquire within them. Either way, you need to be diligent in doing your research to make sure that if you're going to invest in any of these franchises, that you actually learn everything about them. How can they support you, whether they're doing and they have the systems and processes that you need to be successful, so that when you do that investment and make that first step into your franchising journey, that it is a solid one for sure. That's fantastic. So thank you, Ilse. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience before we close the podcast today?
Well, there's an interesting statistics that Betsy shared with me that I want to share with you again. 90% of the franchises that are here in Mexico are alive by year 5. However, 50% of independent businesses fail by the end of year 1. So that shows us that franchising is really a splendid way to be an entrepreneur here in this country, And I'm sure that in all of the world, but specifically here in Mexico, franchising is an opportunity for those investors or for those families that have their savings, or for an executive that wants to, exit the corporate world and start something for themselves and for their families and a legacy. So yeah, this show and this industry really enhances this part of becoming an entrepreneur with a solid base and with the help of a proven brand. Yes, of course, you have to do all of the other things, the managing, the marketing, and the hiring, and all of these things, but you don't start from zero, in franchising. So this is a great industry to be in.
Yeah, you're right. That's why I fell in love with the franchise industry many, many years ago, decades ago. It is a way for you to accomplish the American dream of business ownership. Franchising gives you a way for you to be able to have a higher possibility of success. It is not guaranteed, but definitely much higher than if you go independent in your own business. And many men and women have spent a lot of time, money, and resources in creating these brands in the United States, in Mexico, in Brazil, all over the world that have been proven successful. And so, why, if you're not an innovator and you're not a creator, but you want to be in business, why not look at the franchise model as a way for you to become an entrepreneur and achieve that time and financial freedom that so many of us are looking for in the work that we do every day? So thank you very much, Ilse, for this amazing summary and for being our ambassador in the International Franchise Show in Mexico and for bringing the message and sharing everything about it in there. I hope that for all of you that are listening to this podcast, that you learned something new about franchising around the world and how the things that you may be struggling with and are seeing are the same things that people are seeing, all over the world. So with that being said, and if you're already a franchisee and you already are wanting to become a multi-unit operator, or maybe you already are and you're struggling, I would like to invite you to think about the American Franchise Academy. We're here to be your partners, your supporters, so that we can provide you with the knowledge, the tools, and the resources that we have accumulated over decades of experience to help you as a franchisee be a multi-unit operator and owner and be successful, as well as training programs for your district managers and unit managers on the managerial and leadership skills that they need to help you and themselves be successful. So with that, thank you, Miss Ilse.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And we'll see you in the next podcast. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.